Okay, we're going. Okay, so
Okay.
you watched the video in Patreon this morning with the client I'm working with that did the. She worked with me like I don't know. We started a year ago, not a year ago,
Yeah.
early this um, January. Had a huge
Yeah.
amount of progress, anyways, and so but she came to me as a like HCG diet bulimic, right? Chronically
Wow.
using, oh yeah, like real bad, and then massively binging. And she actually contacted me in after having a massive like on the if she didn't have kids she would have committed suicide, like horrible binge attack. We made huge progress, but she's still kind of in the back of her mind, was like, but I know what's best for me. I'm listening to Robin, but I'm gonna do what's right for me. And she just was like kind of kidding and convincing herself that I'm so recovered, but not really.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you watched that session of her and I talking because we're kind of renewing our work together. And how was it? How did that help you?
Yeah. Well, I got about halfway through, and I looked down at the notes that I had been writing this morning in my quiet time, and I was putting, nutritional intelligence, and how I wanted to talk to you about, like what it would be like to have ease of movement if I wasn't so fat, and
Oh my God, yeah,
and then I heard it, and I'm like, oh no! And then I ran in there. Sorry, I'm excited, but I ran in there, and I'm like, all right, I'm stepping on the scale, and I got on there, and I had weighed myself earlier in the week, and I lost 10 pounds since we started. And then when I weighed myself today, it says that I'm back like 6 pounds up from where I was, and I was like, like Yosemite Sam, rootin' tootin', fervent for. And then I went in the bathroom, and I had to kind of hide all that from my baby, so I went into the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and I was like, I'm so bad. And, because it just all flooded right back in. Like, I am still thinking that I'm going to effing lose weight, and,
yeah.
and I was, all week, like, kind of looking at myself, and I could feel the difference, and, this lump's not there anymore, and that lump's looking better, and I just kind of put it to the back of my mind, oh, that's normal, and then, I'm, like, lying to myself.
Yeah, and I think that's really important for people to, if you want to recover, you cannot afford to keep on lying to yourself.
No, not another.
You're just dragging out the misery. You just drag it out. You're just in denial about it. And again, I don't want to judge that process. To me,
I appreciate that it happened. Yeah. That's the strangest thing.
Well, because you have to face the shit that I'm telling you. It's like I'm basically telling you how to exit. And it's kind of like you're tapping around it, and you're like, yeah, I'm so on the other side, as you're standing still on the side of the thin supremacy, and like, I know, but you going into denial is actually a real important coping mechanism for a lot of people, because it represses the pain you don't want to face.
Exactly, because when I looked in the mirror, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I said, you are not going to lose weight. This is it.
No, you have to feel that. You have to feel
and that's what happened. The feelings started to come, and I was like, oh, no. And I'm like, well, this is why, because I just keep pushing it down. So
with food, and you're like, repress, because I'll diet. Just repress the shame.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you have to face it, and this is why a lot of people listen to these sessions, and it hurts. It kind of makes them uncomfortable. They're like, like Robin's saying, I don't. It might be good for them, but my story's different, and because they cannot face. They do not believe they can handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. It is so So can you tell I've done this before? Can you tell I've done it? Okay. It feels like I will be crushed into sand and blown into the universe. I will be nothing. I cannot.
Exactly.
I am So nothing. There is nothing that can handle this except everything I've been doing, which is what you're trying to get rid of. It's like,
Yeah.
should any human being have to suffer to that degree just to be neutral, just to live?
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
So if you want freedom from hell, don't you love that I'm actually calling it hell? Like
Yeah,
that
'cause that's
you
exactly.
in hell.
I can't imagine anything worse at this point.
That's what it is. I mean, I would love to say literally, you are actually in hell. And
Yeah.
it's a state of mind. It's a state of mind. The
Yep.
physical body you're in, even though it's harder, is not that hard. It's the
Yeah.
state of mind that is so horrendous. It is
Exactly.
so horrendous. And people confuse the two because you've associated your weight as hell. No, it's the state of mind around the shame, the isolation, the repressing of these emotions. That's hell. You just
Yeah.
attached it to the physicality of the body, thinking when I lose weight, I'll be out of hell. Oh, no, that's not how it works.
No.
You could,
No.
you have lost weight. Did you get out of hell or did hell get deeper?
It just got deeper and
Yep.
hidden.
It gets darker. It becomes more myopic, more tunnel visioned. And then if you gain the weight back, you go down to the bottom of the depth of what just got deeper.
Yeah, all the way,
And
because I just all flooded back in, and I felt like, oh my God, I just want to kill myself right now.
Mm-hmm. I say that, I'm like on this side, I'm saying that like, yeah, I know, right? Like it's something beneficial, but it is, to me, it's like, if you want to recover, you have to face the shame.
Yeah.
And you have to forgive it.
Yep.
So what happens to shame if it's forgiven?
It goes. It's gone.
Yeah, because you're given grace. You're given like compassion.
Yeah.
It's like that hell is pretty bad. Why wouldn't you stuff it down? Right? I'm just saying, like, why wouldn't you why wouldn't you take cocaine? I mean, you'd be dumb to have that feeling and to have a way to remove it and not to get rid of it.
Yeah.
That was like, why wouldn't you exercise for 2 hours? Why wouldn't you binge your brains out? If I had that type of dark emotional state of being and binging temporarily gave me relief, yeah, I'm going to binge.
Yeah.
So the mechanism of how you responded as an animal is so forgivable. That's like, well, yeah, no, duh. That to me is the easiest part. That's the most forgivable part.
Yeah.
We have to really forgive, we are going to go deeper, is you have to forgive yourself from having to be thinner. Forgive yourself from the thinnerness. The thinnerness is what you have to forgive. What that means is you are no longer held to it. You are forgiving the thinnerness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I just went to before our appointment this morning. I asked my older boy to watch the little one so I can have an extra hour to just go into this and be, just be done. I feel like I'm mourning the loss of ever losing weight right now. It's the only, I just feel I sobbed like a baby, like literally like a whining baby in here.
Well, because it's real. That's the difference too. When it's real, it's really done. There is a feeling of loss. I
feel it still right now.
The fantasy is gone. It's like divorce. It's like you just lost a relationship. You related to that thinner body and fantasized and like, glamorized it, and you put all of your hopes and dreams in it, and what it feels like is that your hopes and dreams are going away.
Yep.
But it's actually not, because your hopes and dreams are liberated from being thinner. You can now have hopes and dreams with something within reach.
Yes.
So there's a liberation around, I don't have to fix this goddamn body. It's
Yeah.
undescribable. I know for me, it was like I came out from the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the weight of the ocean is no longer my problem. I can just float on my back and, and I don't have any pressure because it can, what you learn, because this is really important too, is as you come out of the bottom of the ocean, you learn that the only reason you got there is because you were looking outside of yourself to feel good.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
It's like really contemplate the thought of, do you really want to relate to the body in a way that it's the body's job for you to feel good about yourself?
No. Nope.
That's a losing battle.
Yeah.
Do you want to relate to someone's opinion about your body to feel good about yourself?
No.
Right? That's like I have to rely on someone else to think I'm attractive. So now I got to change the body to make sure I'm attracted to whatever they think is attractive. So my body is being held to what they think is attractive. And I am no longer capable of feeling good until they validate me.
Yeah.
And then what do I do if their validation goes? What do I do when their validation goes away?
Yeah.
Fuck. Now I have to find out why. So you're codependent with this person. Your life and your security is now dependent in a not a healthy way.
Wow.
Yep. So you just keep on detaching yourself from. Well, I think what happened for me in a moment of like, holy shit, I'm recovered. I'll never do that again. I realized that the biggest problem for me, the core of the issue, and really the body image stuff I had, and the religious shit I had, and the shame about sex I had, all of those were kind of like third tier consequences. So I can't blame the church. I can't blame my parents. I can't blame any of this because I was the one seeking validation. I wanted other people's validation. Whether it was from,
oh yeah, that makes total sense.
So I wouldn't have pursued body image if I didn't want validation from someone else. If I didn't believe that I was validatable to myself by their opinion or what is socially accepted. Even if I said I don't want their opinion, it's me that wants to feel good about myself. I was still using social validation. The whole concept of religion for most people, not everybody, is based on acceptance from God outside of me.
Yeah.
We talked about that last time. From my parents, I need them to validate me. Well, sometimes your parents are unevolved.
Yeah.
So you're waiting to get validation from an unevolved person who's still waiting for their parents to give them validation.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I just became aware that this whole thing was going to happen in this life because I, at some point, took my free will of life. What I mean by free will of life, it's kind of like giving them my compass of what's right for me. I'm going to give the compass to someone else and they'll tell me what's right for me. And it's natural. I think it's a natural thing, actually, as children and how we relate to our parents. They know more than us. There is a point in our unconscious psyche or conscious psyche where a child is aware this person's keeping me alive. I need them for breast milk. I need them for food, or I need them to help me. I'm sick. And they help me feel better. So there is an actual survival need to feel connected to your parents that way. But there comes a point where that connection is now harming you, right? For whatever reason. And so in your evolution as a human, you have to disconnect from other people's validation.
Yeah.
And it feels like death to do it.
It does.
Yeah, I know. And that is literal. We are not talking like, oh, it feels this way emotionally. No, it feels literally like you're going to die. Your whole body starts to have heart palpitations and everything starts to kind of become tunnel visioned and it's like a severe panic attack. I'm going to throw
up.
And you have to surrender. You have to go limp. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to run away from this death. because the more I repress it and hide from it, the worse it gets. And I'm then an indentured servant to keep on doing what I'm doing. And if I can't keep on doing what I'm doing, well, then if I'm still reliant on something outside of myself, I have to now find a new system. So that's what a lot of people do. They recover from alcoholism being their way of repressing, and they go to religion to repress things. They go to food to repress things. They go to body image to repress things.
And oh my gosh.
Yeah, and they just bounce to the next thing. And some of them do it consciously because they know if they keep on doing what they're doing, they will die. So relative to death, it's better to be, a gambler or... And I don't know if it's conscious for a lot of people, but some people consciously say, I'd rather do this than that, because at least with this, I can find some sense of positivity. I have failed here. Completely and utter failure. So I got to find an alternative way to feel success. So again, they're going outside of themselves. They're just doing the same thing in a different system.
Yeah.
It's so common with that.
Yeah, even this week I was really able to stay like eating to hunger. A couple times I noticed I wanted a little bit more, and I did go for a couple more bites than I should have because my body was done, And then I started to shop. Like yesterday I went out and I bought myself an iPad, and I'm like, okay, that's not rational.
You can see it.
Something.
You're still distracting yourself from what's going on. Yeah,
and I was going to hide it from my husband too, and I'm like, John, not doing so good.
I love that you're laughing at it at this point.
I'm grateful to be able to see it.
Well, no shit, right? Because when you're inside and you don't have perspective, it just runs you.
Yeah.
And then if you hold yourself to something better than that, you just adds to the shame and the hopelessness. So it's like a lot of times with the work I'm doing with people, it's like if you're not jumping off the cliff I'm telling you to jump off of, I'm standing there with you. I'm going to sit on the edge with you. I'm not going to push you over. I'm not going to judge you for not doing this. This is going to be the hardest thing you will have ever done in your life.
Yeah.
And I am that confident in that statement. I am that confident in how I don't know how anybody else can die and allow it to happen without it being. I mean, I go into my life and I look at my mom dying way early of cancer and me being there, and that was really hard. Okay. That was really hard. It was really hard to be judged for marrying out of the religion. That was hard. Dying is the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I've even gone into the death of my children, and that is something I potentially is always there. You know that when you're pregnant. It becomes very aware of what you weren't aware of, and all of a sudden you're like, what the hell was I thinking getting pregnant? Oh my God, this could kill me. Right? Even that is different. That's different. Would never say, let's just go there and talk. I don't know. That is recoverable, similar to how I recovered myself. I will find out if it happens, if it's as bad, but this is like real death. You go into complete surrender of everything, who you are, all of your life, everything that you think is you is surrendered in that death. It's very, very, it feels like, and it's permanent. It's permanent. That's the other thing that it feels permanent. I will never exist permanently. And you know what? It's true. The old Robin does not exist. I, in that moment, literally lost so much identity. All in one time. Now, I don't know if that's the case for you. Everybody's different. Like, you may have lost body image identity. You may have lost a lot of identity if you've gone through this. Because you're left with, who am I? Like, what is the point here? Do I really want to
That's exactly how I feel right now.
Yeah, like, who the hell is, what's real? And I know for me it was, I just want to know the truth. I'm not going to do what's fake ever again. I'm going to be authentically real with me as a human being. Whatever me is, I'm just going to stay in the presence of whatever that is. And if someone says, Robin, what's your favorite color? I'm going to go, let me think. I like blue.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I don't have any reason. But I love this color right here. I love this color right there. You know what I mean? So it's just like, Robin, do you believe in abortion? I don't know. It depends on the situation. Like, there's no answer.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to position myself to say it's one way or the other. That's dualistic. That's like going back. It's relative. How do you know?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
I can't make that choice for someone.
This morning before I had watched that video, I was making a list of who am I, you know, like what do I like really, like trying to dig in and see, you know, what kind of music, what's my color, you know, places. And then that's the realization I had too. It's like, it doesn't have to be one thing or the other, like only country music or only rap or, you know.
Yeah. It's
and
like,
I was like, okay, I like all of this, just certain songs in each one.
And it depends on the mood you're in. What mood are you in?
Like, yeah. What's that?
It depends on your mood too. It's like, what mood are you in?
Yeah, exactly. And what sounds good at the moment. Like if I'm pissed off, then something else is going to sound more appealing than, you know. Yeah. I feel like I'm definitely at that space where everything is lost.
Is everything glowing at the same time?
Yeah. Like a whole new kind of life is ahead. You know?
Well, it's now. Really.
Like it's opened up to me or something.
Well, because you never again have to fix your weight.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
And it feels really good. I feel a little bit sad still about it. I don't know, just because it's so new, even though we've talked like 7 times.
Does it feel, well, let's go into that sadness.
Yeah.
Does it feel like loss?
Yeah. Kind of like a loss of almost like a person or something.
That would be the old identity.
Yeah.
I remember feeling really sorry for that identity. It was very miserable. It was sad.
Yeah.
Again,
all the time put into it.
It was just sad.
Yeah.
It was pathetic. Now, I'm not saying pathetic in a judgy way. I'm saying pathetic in like weak and so sad. It was just sad. That person almost killed herself in my story. Literally, it was like that person almost ended it all, right?
Yeah.
And that person I let go permanently, forever, on so many levels. And it was sad. But in exchange, I got to be truthful, got to be the real person. The other person was fake. It was all constructed. It was all like it was a facade person. It was like this idea of a person. It was what I wanted other people to see me as. It was like a persona. And that persona was not okay.
Wow, yep.
It was really sad.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like the aftermath of war. Right after. It just felt like war had ended.
Yeah.
Destruction. Cataclysm. It's just like the apocalypse. If you want to use the word I put in my book.
Yeah.
Just over.
Yep.
This is your weight loss apocalypse.
Yeah.
It's over.
And then it's like the mourning and then the rebuild, I guess, kind of.
Well, really the goal is not to build anything.
Yeah.
It's just see it that way. Like, it's not to rebuild anything. I still don't have any structure. It's been 20 years for me, and I'm still like, I learned to stay unattached permanently. Like, as things arise, I surrender them as they arise. It's just, I try to stay in this space as much as I can of what I'm aware of. I might find out some point that I'm reattached. I don't know it until I know it. I'm not going to fault myself for it.
Right.
But whatever I'm doing in the moment, I know it is coming from my heart. The other thing I remember establishing early on is, well, then how do I know? I mean, I felt like a toddler.
Yeah.
In terms of like, but I know, at least as I know social structures. I'm not a toddler. I don't have to reintegrate. I don't have to go to school. I don't need to learn alphabets. I don't have to do all that work. That was a lot of work over the years.
Yeah, really.
I don't have to do any of that anymore. So there's benefit to there. It was kind of exciting. But all I had to do is, like, no different than a toddler, is developing a sense of themselves. This time I will develop a sense of self that is real. It won't be a superficial concept of myself. Right?
Yeah.
Because if you look at how we identify ourselves, you know, I have a name, Robin. I'm a gender. I'm in a female body. That's where I started. And for me, it was, like, I had no conflict. Thank God I didn't have a gender conflict. But for some people, that might be the issue.
Right.
I've worked with people who are gay, and I have a couple of transgendered clients, and some of it is complete conflict with their gender, you know?
Yeah.
I don't have that. I'm just whatever for me. I don't feel here nor there about it. You know what I mean? I started with, okay, so and I just kept it within my own frame of awareness. So I'm not going to go outside of my awareness to find out who I am. That's what I've been doing. Let's look at the environment and see who's praised. I want to be praised. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. I just want to be heart-centered. So I remember thinking, well, how do I know? Well, I just have to believe that I mean no harm. Whatever it is, I mean no harm. I am a safe person. I know that to my core, the core of myself, which isn't really me. It's just the feeling that I'm experiencing is that I am really loving.
Yeah.
So I will use that. I'll use my integrity to move forward. So what's the integrity of choosing my frame of color? What's my favorite color? Well, the integrity is to express the feeling of the color that's bright at me at the moment. It's not to tell you a color that is better than another color. Right?
Yeah.
I will never, ever follow that type of system again. Right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Right? I'm just going to say the color. I don't need someone else to like it. I want them to express what color they feel juicy about.
Yeah.
Right? I want them to say what color feels good. They should be themselves. So it starts with you, and then you're going to naturally want that for other people. You're going to want your children to be like, tell the truth. Just be real.
Yeah.
Let people reject you. It's a nice, quick way of not having a shitty relationship.
Yes.
Let the assholes eliminate themselves.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, because then when you're trying to get the people to like you, and then you go through all this time with them and realize later that they're just an a-hole anyway, and you shouldn't have been friends.
Yeah, but right? If you're just real, they're going to reject you. So it's like going into, I'd rather be rejected than to have to change myself for them to be okay. Sounds like they have special needs to where they need everybody around them to change so they're comfortable with themselves.
My gosh, this should be taught in, like, elementary school.
I know. Right, but what's taught is you have to assimilate. They won't like you. They won't like you. My goal is to say, I'm just going to be real, and I would rather them not like me right away Like if I'm going to be real and they don't like me, I want them to know and I want myself to know. I'm just going to be real. I know, and this again goes back to because I know my integrity isn't malicious. I'm a good person. I'm a loving person. I don't mean no harm. So when I am myself, it isn't in a harmful way. I am not burning someone's house down because that's how I feel. I'm going to be myself. No, I am not causing harm to anybody. So if my answer is my favorite color is blue and they are offended, great. They should be offended. Let me know you're offended sooner than later. A lot of the clients I work with who are in the dating scene have to learn this. You want to be rejected sooner than later. Put a real picture of yourself without the manipulation of your filters. You want to be rejected instantly. Like, be yourself. Put everything as truthful as possible. That way, the relationship you're developing is based on the truth.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes so much sense now.
Doesn't it? Did you really? Wow. You must have really kind of woke up.
Yeah, that's how I feel. And it's so new, Robin. It's like today, like when you text and said you were going to be 5 minutes late, I'm like, oh, good, because I need to continue in what's happening here. I mean,
that's good.
I've felt like the freedom, through this time that we've talked, but it obviously hadn't clicked until I heard that talk this morning.
You know what? I wonder if that talk this morning really forced you to realize that this doesn't end until it ends.
It did, yeah.
Because you could hear.
Damn it! I'm not done here.
I have to face this shit.
Yes. Oh.
I know that is. Some people don't. Again, I can take a horse to water. I cannot make them drink.
Yeah. Yep.
And some people get really angry at me.
Oh, I haven't felt that way at all. I heard you say that before, and I'm like, I don't feel that way at all. I feel I could have done that. I did that with doctors and things before, So, but I feel like I know you're guiding me, and you mean no harm, really, So
yeah. So, and at some point, you have to take responsibility. I cannot do it for you. I cannot make you do it. You're the one that has to face what feels like certain death. It feels like you're gonna die. So many people, Robbie, you don't get it. Okay, I guess I don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you need to get it.
Yeah.
But either way, what you need to get is gonna feel like you're gonna die.
Yeah. That's how I felt earlier. I just like.
And you have to surrender to it. You have to go limp. You go limp. You literally don't move a muscle. You're like, if it kills me, I surrender. And it feels permanent. At the very end, it feels like this is permanent. I will be permanently in this state. And I have to accept it. Because if I'm not, I have to go back to doing whatever I have to do to make sure I permanently don't feel this.
Yeah.
I remember it so clear as day, that moment. If I stop hiding this and covering it up and running from it and leaving it and hiding it and covering it, then I have to face it. And it feels that it will be here permanently. It feels like a permanently flawed piece of shit feeling.
Yeah.
But that flawed piece of shit feeling, if I am not willing to keep it here, I have to do what I've been doing. I cannot stop what I've been doing. So if I am going to do anything different, the only thing I haven't done is face these emotions, allowed them to be here. And you know what's amazing to me is I allowed them to be there. One of the most important emotions that kept me hostage was the feeling of embarrassment. I was like, I am embarrassed of being exposed. It's like it's like the moment of exposure. It was embarrassing to me. So I'm going to commit suicide because I'm embarrassed. I connected those dots. Like I'm literally going to kill myself because I refuse to be embarrassed because I failed. So it was a moment of like, holy shit, embarrassment is temporary. You tell the truth. You come out of the closet as a loser, failure, piece of shit. You just do it. You're right. I failed. You're right. I suck. Everybody's going to laugh at me. It was like that visual I take people through that where they lay in the room and they sit in the room. I think I did it with you. And you get mocked. It's like, yeah, go through it. Yeah. People will permanently think you suck. So there's a sense of permanence in that. And you surrender to, I'd rather be permanently sucky than to suffer trying to hide the feelings of sucking. Yeah.
Yeah, I had received a message from the girl that I had joined the group with at the beginning before I had talked to you. Mm-hmm. And she was asking how I was doing. So I told her exactly, and I sent her a link to a video, and then she's like, okay, so is this going to help you lose weight, or is this going to make you happy with the weight that you're in? And at that moment, I'm just like, oh, it made me feel like
you got to validate it for her. You got to get her approval. Do you need her to know?
Yeah, I felt like I was trying to get her approval, and then I was like, okay, now if I don't lose weight, then I just look like the loser, you know. And then she's going to be all, oh, she didn't have it, and I was still just kind of riding with that, and I couldn't see it, I was like, well, I'm going to have to lose weight to prove that this was the right path to take, and I'm like, wow. That's just staying in the same place.
Mm-hmm. Can you believe the knowledge you have right now?
Yeah, it's
I don't seem as smart anymore, do I? All of a sudden, Robin's making elementary school sense. All of a sudden, where before I had to take notes and I had to study what she was saying.
Yes, I have this huge book of all the notes I've been taking and watching videos, all in between our talks.
And now it should be like, oh my God, yeah, that's of course. Yeah, because from this viewpoint, it is so right in front of your face. It is right there. And you didn't see it. It's like, all I had to do was invite in what I was running away from. Yeah. And feel it. And actually witness it from every cell of my being. That's it. Yeah. And not judge it. And not be afraid of it. Yeah. Just allow it to come in. That is not easy. Because it feels like you're going to die. Like you're going to get murdered. Yeah, feels like that feeling is killing me. That's why it's another way to describe it. It's like, as much as we say it feels like you're going to die, well, if I was actively dying, it wouldn't be that bad. It's getting murdered that's that bad. Yeah. Murder. Feels like I'm going to. Which is why suicide is on some level the same, because what it would take to murder yourself is the same. Yeah. It feels the same. And that was the other thing that came to me in that out-of-body experience, was the sameness of it. I came to an awareness that what it would take to murder myself is the same exact emotion I refuse to face. Yeah. So there was a moment I said, I might as well feel it first. And if that doesn't work, I will kill myself. Yeah, that's how I felt when I looked in the mirror, and it started to come, and then my first instinct was to hide it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is why. This is why I am that crazy. Anybody would be that crazy if they had that feeling suppressed. That is so huge. It requires massiveness to repress it. Yeah. That's what I became aware of too. It's like, well, no wonder I'm having to do all this work. That's how intensely horrible this emotion feels to me. It requires an insane amount of work to keep this down. Yeah. Because it is massive how big this feeling is. Yeah. And so no wonder you feel hopeless. Because you have to live the rest of your life trying to repress these emotions. And no wonder you sought thinnerness, because you thought thinnerness would help you get rid of those emotions, not realizing that your desire for thinnerness was the cause of the emotions. Yeah. It was the cause. Absolutely. You would not feel shame if you did not believe in thin supremacy. Right. And so all of the shame that you have felt, that is directly linked to the binging that you've been doing for a long, long time. That shame with your eating is caused from the shame of your body relative to thin supremacy.
Yeah.
Remember when I said it's the thinness that needs grace? Everything else is like 3 tiers down in terms of, well, of course those things happen as a natural consequence. Well, let's go to the cause. Let's go to the actual creation of this issue. Well, it's created from thin supremacy. That requires you restrict food. And it goes from there.
Yeah, I can remember like the first time I ever felt like that too.
Well, now you see it. Now you're like, the clarity is there. Oh, this began right in that moment. And that moment moving forward has been nothing but hell.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many times, like even as a little kid, like 10 years old at least, I can just remember like hitting myself in the stomach, or even just
see how
terrible,
sad
like,
that is.
Physical abuse. Yeah.
Now that person had to die.
Yeah.
Sad. It is so, so sad.
Yep.
So the sadness you're experiencing should feel different than poor me. It's not martyr. It's not victim. It should not feel that way at all. It should just be solemn. A real solemn, like end of war.
Yeah.
Like someone just died.
Yep. Yeah, that's how I felt. And before we got on this call, I was thinking about that. I'm like, what is this? I don't feel sorry for myself, but I feel this weird sadness. It's like a new kind of emotion.
Well, you're accepting loss.
Yeah.
You accept it.
Yeah.
Permanently. And it's the cost that had to be paid to get your freedom. This takes us back to our first session.
Yeah.
Remember when I was like, what if this is what the cost is to get out of hell? This is the cost. You have to do this big permanently. Would you pay it? Hell yes!
Yes.
Right? Now it's like, oh yeah, that's an easy answer. I don't even have to think about that. Now it's easy.
Yeah.
Now it's like, why would you go back into that? I'd rather be better.
All week I've been having, like I was saying, I was having an easier time eating, but then I would have these times when I was like wanting to eat emotionally.
Yeah. Well, that comes
and
from
I'm like, why is that still there?
The
There's
anxiety.
Still something. It was just kind of making me aware that there was still something.
Oh, well, if you look into it, you can see that there's anxiety around probably your curiosity around your weight.
Yes, because I was definitely body checking in every mirror I could find.
That's why. So because as you're hoping to lose weight from this, that hope to lose weight creates anxiety with food.
Yeah.
That anxiety with food makes it very difficult to see clearly when you're hungry, when you're not hungry, and then you're always thinking, I shouldn't be eating this, I shouldn't be doing that. So there's that constant sense of I shouldn't, that you've been living with for a long time.
Yep.
It's just been diminished because you've been in denial, which has been beneficial. So when I talk to people and I say, you put it on pause, there's benefit to that pause.
Yeah.
It's still on pause though.
Yeah.
So there's a benefit to going into putting it on pause. The benefit is the realization that there is relief. It does exist. That in and of itself is huge for many people. From that point, it's rare that people go back into full-fledged binging because they are more aware. Oh, if I give this grace, I won't be binging. I still overeat, but the binging isn't as furious. It's only becomes furious when you have to lose weight now. The now component of it is where the binge comes in. Yeah. It's so predictable on this side. On this side. It's like clear as day. Oh, yeah. And the thing is, because I've done it, I actually have my own personal experience with the feeling and the impulsivity as a human being. Like, I'm human. I have the same wiring you do. Same exact wiring.
Yeah.
So this is why a lot of people are like, oh, but she's never been fat. She doesn't know. Well, it's not a body fat issue. It
No,
isn't a
it's
body
not.
fat issue. It's a perspective. It's how you're thinking. It's a beliefs issue. It's a beliefs issue. Change
Yeah,
the
because
belief.
I've been thin and been in this state of mind still.
Correct.
During that time, because I could see pictures of myself when I was thin, and
You
I
still
felt
thought you were
exactly the same way.
Yeah, it's just not good enough. Not good enough because it's not a. And this is another thing for you to become aware of. It is not a physical problem. It does not resolve with a physical solution. This is a mental problem. It's a spiritual problem. It's a perceptual problem. It's the problem of dependency and not taking responsibility for what I need, when I need it, how I need it.
Yeah.
It's putting it down. It's the body that's got to do this for me. It's the food that has to fulfill me. It's my parents that have to fulfill me. And all of it really sucks. Nothing really ever fulfills you. And so you have to be in a position to say, I fulfill myself with myself, with my ability to change my perspective. So no matter what I lose in life, no matter what rejection I experience, I have this inherent will of life that I can rely on. It's like I have the power of life connected to this body, and I'm going to use it for myself. Now, it's not selfish. It's because this way of being is actually makes you safer as a human being. Because you're no longer relying on others codependently or dependently very much. I mean, we're all dependent on to some degree, and that's healthy dependence. I'm dependent on my husband. I'm dependent on my kids to clean their shit up. I'm dependent on, whatever, food. There's dependencies for sure, but the codependency or the emotional, codependency, I'll never do that again. With my body, with my husband, with a religion, with politics, I will never do it again. I will fulfill myself. It is my job to be happy and to feel love and to feel loving.
Oh my gosh.
I will do it. And so I don't need a new house. I don't need a new car. I don't need a different body. You eliminate all the physical conditions from the equation, and you become highly adaptable to fulfill yourself. I remember thinking if to be real and to be truthful to who I am requires, or if the whole world rejects me, the entire planet says, Robin's a piece of shit, she's not worth a relationship, I will be okay with that as long as I'm in nature. Right? See how I adapted to it? I'm in nature. I'm adapting. I could be in a tent as long as I have. So I whittled it down to the actual primal needs of survival. This will never again be activated unless I'm living off the earth and don't have food. But even then, I would rather change my perspective to where I am willfully willing to die to feed the animals. It's like I can change my whole perception as a human being to where I am willfully capable of living and dying by choice.
Yeah. Wow.
This is the other thing too, Jennifer. What this did for me is it made me realize that I am not afraid to die. Like I died and my fear of death went away. So and I'm not free to just be authentic. I'm not afraid to die. So if someone rejects me, that death trigger that we're all wired to have as primal animals is no longer. It's like, I will never do that again, so I'd rather die. I don't know how else to explain that other than I get that. Well, this happened to me in that out-of-body near-death experience. You might not have had that. You may or may not. I don't know. It became very clear to me in this near-death experience I had that once I got to a certain level, I could choose to die.
Wow.
This is the stuff I don't go into very often. I always talk about my vision of my mother's grief. I talk about this awareness that I'm not the body, and the feeling of living in a larger body versus a smaller body was literally no different, except for just the gravitational pull to the earth and the physicality of exercise. Like it was like in a bigger body, walking felt like the way I felt running on a treadmill. It's the same feeling,
Yeah.
It's like, so I'm creating a feeling of morbid obesity in my thinnerness, running for 2 hours. I'm literally inflaming my body. My knees hurt. My body hurts. So I might as well lose 100 pounds. There was so much I got out of that out of body experience. It was just I don't even know how long I was gone from I don't even know what happened. So, but one of the things prior to kind of coming out of it and getting up and moving on was this awareness that I'm not afraid. Dying is not something to be afraid of. It's really not that big of a deal. It was such a big deal before. It was like, again, it was like murder. It's frantic. It's panicky. It's like a nightmare. Panic. Your legs don't move and you're trying to run and nothing's happening. It's pure panic. And it was over an illusion.
Yeah.
So that to me was the idea of I'm not afraid to die because it's an illusion. Now I sound like a weirdo, and I get that. So
no, I'm taking that in. That's yeah.
So I have nothing to lose by being real, truthful. Just be human.
Yeah.
I'm having a human experience within my human limitations, and I don't feel bad about it.
I love it.
It's so awesome.
I love the idea or the truth of, just being out there and having the rejection happen now and who cares, and then you move on and get
freedom. It's like infinite possibility in this time while you're here. You have infinite possibility. Why not do what brings your heart joy?
Yes.
Just do it. If you can go into your integrity and ask yourself, am I causing harm? Is this self-centered? Is this malicious? And your answer's no. Then you just make that choice. And that's what I remember going, this is what they meant in church when they said you have free will and you use the Holy Spirit. It's within yourself. That's what that means. Which means all the rules they're telling me to follow are negated.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay. So this whole concept that I have to follow the rules is conflicting with everything.
Yes.
So if I have free will, I am to use it. And it is the truth of my essence. I will use that because that's the truth. Using something outside of that is artificial.
Yeah.
It's artificial. This whole concept that I was raised in is artificial. It's not real.
No wonder it just felt like such a struggle to live. That's what I told my mother too. I'm like, I don't know why, but it just feels like living is harder for me than other people, but it actually was because I was going against who I truly am in everything.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Really. Everything. There was no ounce of my being that was real. That soul was in a cage.
Wow.
It's like, well, that soul is sweet. That little girl, I had a vision of myself at 4. I had a very clear recollection. I did write a little bit about this in Weight Loss Apocalypse, where I remember playing like Barbies and G.I. Joes, and I remember just feeling so into it, and I was having so much fun, and it was so real to me, and I got to choose every part of that process. It was just me by myself playing, and no one was telling me what to do, and it was like so cool, right?
Yeah.
It's like that was the one memory I had of just some sense of freedom. And you don't have to have that memory to do it. But it, to me, was like, that girl has been in jail. For what?
Yeah.
For eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. For thighs touching or...
Yes!
Wow.
Because she didn't do, keep her heart rate at 180 beats per minute for an hour on the Versa climber.
Wow.
Because she's 148 pounds and not 146. She's in jail. And in shame, as if she's like torturing animals or something, you know? Yeah. And I just remember going, and that day, I had peanut butter and jelly, and I had mac and cheese. I came out of this and was like, I'm starting over. I feel like I'm 4 years old. I'm a 4-year-old child in a 20-year-old body. And that girl is gonna live.
Yeah.
I don't care what her body looks like. I don't care if she's in a 500 pound. That soul is going to be expressed. Whether I'm a 500-pound body, whether I get in a car accident and lose my legs. I use that a lot because that's what helps me. I was like, if I inhabit this body and this girl is set free, if this spirit is set free, anything can happen to the body. But you know what? I'm not afraid to die anymore.
Yeah.
So screw it. I'm going to live. This is a lifetime I've been given. This body is giving it to me. It's good enough. Whether I get old, whether I lose my legs, whether I have a disease, what if I get hit by a car today? Fuck it. Between now and that moment, I'm in it.
Yes.
And I'm not going to waste another second exercising or controlling my body if it's not something that brings me joy.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
Right? So I'm having mac and cheese and I'm putting hot dogs in it and I'm going to have and I had a panic attack and I felt my fat get bigger in that moment and I just said, I accept it. That day, and I think the next day, every time I ate, I just sat on the floor and just said, I'm okay.
That's huge right there. Because when I was feeling like little things here and there about what I was eating and I was letting it get to me. Oh, there's something wrong with me. Then, you know, I shouldn't be feeling this way instead of giving myself mercy and grace, you know, or
you go
and
into
just feeling it and sitting in the feelings.
Yeah, and going, this isn't worth shame. You have done nothing wrong. If this is worthy of shame, I'd rather go to hell.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? I don't want that heaven. I don't want the heaven that creates shame from eating mac and cheese.
Yeah.
That heaven, someone else can have that. I'm not going to do it anymore. That jail cell that they call heaven, someone else can have that.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'd rather go into fat hell. I'd rather.
Yeah, no kidding.
If mac and cheese is worthy of shame, I'm leaving that church.
I even felt like, you know, if I wasn't eating organic, that Jesus is mad at me. Oh my gosh. That's horrible.
Right? Do you see it now? The whole church, the church of thin supremacy and the diet industry and how they've moralized food as if you're a sinner if you eat these foods and they are shaming you. And those are the people you gave credibility, by the way.
Yeah.
And those are the people I work with who are the hardest people to work with. They're super self-righteous. Those are the anorexics who are at the front of the pulpit telling all you fat people how sucky you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the death glares. Oh my gosh.
Don't you just, right? Those are the people you're trying to impress.
Yeah.
And get approval from. They hold your approvability, and that's why you'll never recover.
Yeah.
And even if they don't, you're the one that wants to be them, and you're the one holding yourself to that type of horrible. No wonder you're in hell. It's in hell. That's hell. That's like torture. It's a form of glamorized torture. They glamorize it. That's how they make money, by making it look so amazing.
Yeah.
So good eating my celery sticks.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was thinking about that in my time this morning too. Like, I cannot even imagine having to eat some dry salad with, just barely any dressing, or dipping my fork in my dressing, and oh my gosh.
Well, if you don't have to.
I mean, not that that's all that there is to life.
But you came to that. You just came to the other side of that, which is, well, if I had to, because of famine, of course I would. I'm not going to demonize that, but I don't. Why would you do that if there's no problems?
Exactly.
Yeah. So people that do that, would you shame people that are that way?
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm. Just, they probably feel they need to.
Yeah.
And that's what they should do until they don't.
Yeah, just like my husband. Like, I'm going to start this program. I'm like, okay, honey, whatever you need me to do.
Yep, I will help you.
For you, just because if I'm going to be like, no, that's not the way, that is just going to build a wall.
It will, and he will grasp onto the diet harder.
Yes.
Yeah. So you just support him, and when he has the failure side of it and he's binging side of it, just go, don't be ashamed. It's just food. It's not like you killed and tortured baby kittens.
Yes.
So you have the grace in the conversations you can have with him that he's not doing for himself,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you love him the same all the time. It's just give him grace on one side and give him grace on the other side and give him grace on this side. And you got to let him as an individual person come to this awareness on his own. And the only way that will happen is if you stay out of it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, put yourself in that position. What if he came to this when you weren't ready? How would it feel?
Yeah.
You would have been angry. You would have been angry.
Mad.
Yeah, just the way he was. See what I mean? Because he got mad.
Jealous
what's wrong with you? Don't you want to be healthy?
Yeah.
You're giving up on your health? And then with anger.
Yeah.
That's like, because you're leaving the cult.
Yeah.
The source of the shame.
Yeah. When I was reading about how to leave a cult too, that was one of the things. They said you have to leave on your own. You can't try to take people with you because they're not going to understand.
No.
And they're going to drag me back in. You can get convinced because you already believed the lies of it before, So
well, this is very different in that you'll never re-believe in this. No. When you actually fully recover, that's not what happens. So that's what someone would say if they haven't fully recovered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like as if there's something that could be.
Yeah, they didn't really fully remove. They may have left the cult, but they still hold themselves to those beliefs.
Yeah.
So I would assume whoever wrote that is still somewhat indoctrinated. They're just giving themselves a lot of removal from it, and they may still be in the process of recovering from being brainwashed.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not judging that person. I'm just saying that person clearly has not fully recovered from the brainwashing.
That makes sense too. Yeah. So.
Because once you're recovered, like fully recovered, it is a lie, and you see it as a lie, and there is no reason why you'd get sucked back into it because it's a joke.
Yeah.
You cannot unsee that it's a lie. Again, it's an illusion. You can't unsee that. Once you're aware it's an illusion, you can't unsee that it's an illusion. It becomes a joke. But you feel sorry for people who don't see that it's an illusion. They think it's real. So in their realness of it, in the seriousness of it, you respect that is real to them.
Yeah.
And in their process of evolution, it might be good for them to stay in the illusion. Some people are unevolved. They cannot live without being told what to do. They're that unevolved. It benefits people who are unevolved or lacking evolution, if that makes sense spiritually. They need someone to tell them what to do. There are people who are in that space. They need it. They should do that, right?
Right.
For me, it was super catastrophic.
Yeah.
For where I was in my own evolution spiritually,
Yeah. Yep. when it causes you not to be able to live. You know?
If someone doesn't have inherent awareness, I shouldn't hurt other people, they should probably stay in church.
Yeah.
They should probably read the scriptures every day.
Yeah.
They need those rules. They have to memorize them. They should. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
Vespa, come on, sweetie. Shush it. Can you hear her? She's just... It's my neighbor's little Vishla. She's been in a lot of my videos. She's just really manipulative right now. I know that. All right, I gotta go. All right. I would suggest, and I think you're already in this space of, you need to just stay where you're at.
Yeah.
Like, just, all I'm doing is maybe hopefully kind of accept, like, here's what it feels like. This is what happens. This is what it's, there are certain things you need to focus on. So if you go back into this conversation and you're like, holy shit, I needed to go there. She brought up some things I need to go into. We might have gone out of them too quick in this conversation only because we've got 60 minutes.
Right.
Go back, and you don't need to even rewatch this video. Just go back into the things that felt really good. Go back into those and understand it. Open yourself up to, what is it that makes this right for me? And what is it that this is relieving for me? Just try to understand it as much as you can in this moment.
Okay.
And solidify too. I remember going back in, what if I get married? What if someone thinks, what if my husband leaves me? What if I go on vacation? What if I'm on the beach? I in my head went into the worst case scenario of rejection, abandonment, disapproval, being judged, being shamed, and being mocked, and being okay with the embarrassment, right? Embarrassment. I just faced those emotions ahead of time and realized, yeah, no, I'll never go back there. I will never go back to that place again. I would rather be mocked. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's easy. Again, go into the experience of someone making fun of you. That's easy compared to what you've been doing. Hiding from being judged. Right? So it's like, there is no social shunning I can't experience. Because in terms of badness, it is way less bad than what I had to do to avoid shunning.
Yeah. Wow. Yep.
I'd rather be shunned. That's temporary. Yep. They shun you and it's over. You get your freedom. Yes, I do. Again, this is like coming out of the closet.
Yes.
Coming out of the closet as a big fat person.
Absolutely.
Yes, you are. Look at me, I'm fat.
Yes, I know. The other day I was at a play place with my son, and I'm always tempted to pull on my shirt and get it away from my stomach as if that's going to hide it from somebody. And I was like, nope, we're just sitting here, stomach touching the shirt, it's tucked into the roll or whatever.
Whatever.
Look.
Well, and the thing is that people can make the assumptions all they want, that you're uneducated, that you don't care, that you don't know, and we all know that they're ignorant.
Yeah.
So,
I get the thinking of the uneducated, because when you're in the survival mode, you can't think straight. I couldn't even read a book.
No.
Like,
but you think of all the energy you put towards what you shouldn't eat, what you can eat, the amount of books you read about dieting. Think of all the blogs you read, all the groups you've been in. Just think of every ounce of energy, life energy devoted to your fatness and the shame of your fatness and feeling so overwhelmed by what it was going to take that you were paralyzed.
Yeah.
So the idea that you're uneducated is a bunch of hooey.
Yeah.
That you're not motivated is hilarious. That you don't care. Really? Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just, people don't understand it, and they, in their knowingness, project onto you that you are inferior, because that's how they would feel because of their narcissism.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, so it just becomes kind of funny. You're like, yeah, I'm just a lazy piece of shit. You can think that all you want. But no one else knows I am high as a kite on life, and I'm happy.
Yes.
And you know what? You can handle this body. They might not be able to handle it. They might commit suicide to be that big. But to you, it's like, this isn't worth suicide. I can handle this.
Yeah.
Because you've gone through a process of handling it. So you could say, well, of course, someone without the awareness and without the sense of capacity would be devastated.
Yeah.
And so you can forgive them for being such dickheads.
Yeah.
Judgy McJudger pants. You can forgive them to go, well, of course, they don't have the ability developed. They don't have the awareness. They are their body. So they would care.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yep.
So it's okay. They can think those things because that's where they're in terms of their spiritual evolution, they're clearly unaware of what this made you aware of.
Yeah.
And it took the work you did with me, the money you spent with me, the time you spent watching my YouTube videos to finally get here.
Yeah.
You can't expect people to get it. It's not like I'm super popular. It's not like people know who I am. This is like, I can't believe you found me. Anytime someone fills out a consult request, I'm like, holy shit, someone found me?
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty much irrelevant when it comes to this stuff.
Because people don't want to hear this part, you know. I mean, I didn't. I wanted to be like, oh, she's going to fix my brain and then we're going to lose weight. It's going to work out, you know.
I'll be thin again. Yeah, I'll reach the destination of freedom.
Yeah.
Well, you did, but not the route you thought.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's probably a lot better than you even imagined.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Now, that's the other part. It's like, so many people go, well, I just need to know what the plan is. I'm like, yeah, I don't have a plan. Sorry.
Yeah.
But what are we doing? Well, the goal is that you're free from the suffering. Okay, well, what is that going to feel like? Well, it's kind of hard to explain. It's going to feel like infinite space of possibility and total and complete sense of capacity to handle it.
Yeah.
And that's like, okay, so what are the steps?
Yeah, so when do I get to be thin?
Yeah, exactly. And then I'll be thin and free and everybody, I'll feel good. I'm like, yeah, kind of like that, but without the thin.
Yeah. Yes,
and
exactly.
100 times bigger in terms of space.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't.
And it's full of love. It's full of like love and loviness.
Yeah.
And grace and just tons and tons of space and freedom.
Yeah.
And it feels like freedom. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like freedom. It's like, how do you explain that feeling? The feeling of freedom. The feeling of it. How does freedom feel?
You can't explain that.
I mean, there's words, liberty, and
open
space of infinite freedom. There is no plan. There's no plan. Is that not the best news ever?
Yes.
Right? But Robin, I need a plan. Oh, hell no. I'm not giving you a plan. Other than, let me tell you, the process, it's a process, but there is no plan.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that. Other than you have to at some point separate who you are from a physical body.
Yeah.
That's at the bottom. And it requires you go through a feeling of murder. You know, It's like, here's the plan.
And then nobody will call back after they hear that part.
Pretty much. It's like, I'm telling you to do what you've tried not to do for decades. I'm going to tell you to go into the feelings you hate and loathe. Yeah. The ones you've been stuffing down.
Yeah.
Avoiding, hiding from. The ones you've been hiding from, those are ones, emotions you hide from, and you go into denial, and you're like, blah, 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 blah. Those are the ones we're going to look at. And then you're going to breathe it into your lungs, and we're going to feel them. And then you're going to project all of that onto me as if I'm the devil. And you're going to be angry at me. And, I don't know. Not everybody does that, but a lot of people do.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and the other thing is, like, it's useless. Anything I tell you to do is useless if you don't have the will to recover. The will the energy you put into getting freedom. Like you could say that was the one truth you brought to me. This is the one thing that is true. I want freedom. Whatever that is, I want freedom from this shittiness. Even if that freedom is still shitty, it's got to be less than bad than this one. So whatever that is. I want better than that. Which might still suck, but I'd rather have that. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I had to remind myself that too today because, I went when I first had that feeling and I was like, oh, this, wasn't so bad. And like, what the? Then I had to go through all the stuff that I've been doing to myself, to remind.
You do. You have to compare. Like, okay, well, if I don't do this, then I have to go back into dieting.
Yeah.
Did you get to that place?
Yes. Like, okay, if I'm not going to, face this forever, permanently, then I have to go.
Permanently do what you've been doing.
Low carb it.
Forever.
No sugar and, permanently. And I'm going to have to go running and lifting weights all day.
Permanently. I keep on saying permanently in the background of what you're saying. Permanently. Because you're permanently not willing to face these feelings.
Yeah.
So
just for that little bit of emotion that came through. I mean, it was huge, but at that, compared to the freedom after feeling and being it was just a tiny little
moment.
Pinprick, like getting a shot.
Well, you say that after the fact, but you're correct.
Yeah, after, but before, it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna die. Holy shit, you really did it. You did it. Oh my God. I am so excited for you.
Me too.
I have a lot of clients who have never done it. They have never allowed themselves the honesty to get here.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine
it's so,
going through.
Yeah. And I've had clients get really close and then not do it. Because it's so hard. It's scary. And they get there and they can't do it. I just can't do it. I have to lose this weight, Robin. And I have to say, okay, you should. You know, they were right there.
Yeah.
And they just.
Yeah, it's almost like a thin kind of veil of your eyes.
It is. Very thin.
Wow.
But it feels like you're going to die.
Yep.
And then you sit through that death, and it is like you died. There is a death. And you sit through it, and you're like, that was it? What? Holy shit! Again, it's kind of like what you just said. It's like a pinprick, and I'm like, yeah, I almost murdered myself. I almost put a gun to my head.
Yeah.
And blew my brains out for that freaking illusion.
Yeah.
That was what I realized on the other side. I almost killed myself. I was literally next to killing myself for that. Wow.
Yeah, I had a plan, and my plan was to do it in a place where, like the coroner wouldn't have to lift me out of a tub or, I was even considering all the, about how big my body is to make it easier for people to deal with it.
First time you've talked about it?
Yes. Yeah. Out loud, yeah. Besides Jesus, yeah. This is the first time.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
That's the sadness.
Yeah.
Because it is so sad.
Yeah.
That to me was like, because it's such a waste of a life.
Yeah.
It was like, what a waste. It's like that little girl is just, it's so sad that it's coming to this end. This brings me to tears to hear that.
Yeah. Me too.
It's sad. That is so sad.
To even hear that out loud.
Yeah. That is why this is why I do what I'm doing.
I'm so grateful. It's like a revolution. This is what it feels like.
No. Well, it's like go into that hopelessness, and that hopelessness, it's like that's worthy of suicide, and it's sad.
Yeah.
That hopelessness is really sad. You are in essence dying in that space because your will to live is withering, and it's withering. It's like a dimmer. Your light is dimming, very dim. It's a very, very dim place. It's very dark.
Yeah.
And it's like, for what? For what? Because you had a burger? Because you ate some candy?
Yeah.
It's like, it is just sad, and so for when someone comes to me and they have the will to be guided, it's almost like I can't not help you.
Yeah. I'm grateful.
You had to have asked for help.
Oh yeah.
No,
yeah, no one could have forced me into
I'm
this.
talking like to God. You had to have said, I need help.
Oh yeah. I have prayed so many times in right before I made the decision to talk to you. In the middle of worship at church, I go to just like a non-denominational church, and I was praying, God, you're bigger than this wall that is in front of me, because I felt like I was praying and worshiping, and it was just hitting a wall, and like, you're bigger than this. You have to break through this. And then after the decision came to call you, I knew that this was His way of helping me, because the first Bible verse I saw is that you're going to have to go through this. Just go through, and then whatever I'm doing is, what will come out of it is people seeing it, not me teaching them, but people will see it on their own, and it'll be like a guide for them,
So when was it that you thought it's Robin?
Let's see.
There had to have been a moment. It was like click. That's it.
Well, I had felt like during that time when I went with that Beachbody group, and then it just sent me back into that madness again, and I was like, this is the only person teaching how to get out of this. You were the only person that I knew of that was actually guiding people through it. I mean, I've read books. I have actually a book from an author called Lisa Bevere, who is a Christian teacher, and it's the same thing that you're teaching, teaching here, like guiding me through. But I couldn't see it because I don't know. I couldn't absorb it through just reading it. I needed somebody guiding me through it.
Well, you know what I found, and I haven't read the book, and I'm not gonna. I think it's wonderful there's someone else doing it. But what I found being raised as a Christian, that the actual religion was a block for me. I could not bring Christ into my recovery, period.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And what that did for me is it actually made me realize that it isn't someone else that will save me.
Right.
And that was huge for my transformation. And it actually really validated my belief in Christianity. Now, I'm not anti-Christianity either. I'm not against non-Christianity. To me, it's like, oh, this is a universal awareness. This is the same thing that Krishna and Buddha. I mean, this is like, holy shit. The problem is religion is saying that it's outside of you. The whole thing in the New Testament is it's within you. It's like they've lost their shit.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a big issue, is relying on Jesus. No, that isn't even what he taught.
Yes. Right.
So some people think that I am like no, I'm actually very Christian in terms of believing those, grace, forgiveness, and those aren't Christian beliefs. Those are actually universal beliefs. but I believe them so much. Like, I remember thinking after my recovery, I went back into like, oh, what Jesus experienced in the Garden of Gethsemane was like what I just experienced.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Robin.
That's not me that made that connection.
Robin, my Bible is open right now, and it's I was reading about the betrayal and arrest in Gethsemane.
The Garden of Gethsemane, where he bled from every pore,
right now,
and he surrendered and died for everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I can't even. It's sitting right next to me in the car.
And so it's like he didn't have Jesus to do that for him. He did it from the heart and the will of his being. Isn't that what he's been asking us to do? Isn't that the whole point? Yeah. It's like, but we get stuck on this alternative person that will do it for me. And right there, you'll never recover. Ever.
Yeah, and the rules, the laws that people came up with to try and get their way to God, that's totally opposite of Jesus.
Correct. Which said it changes everything about your whole concept of like how I relate to this concept. And it's like, oh, it's not about Jesus. This isn't about Jesus. Holy shit, this is what he was teaching. It has nothing to do with him. He's showing us the way. It's this way. Anyways.
Oh my goodness.
Like, oh, yeah, I saved myself. I just saved myself through the way of Christ, which is actually the same way of the Buddha. Through non-attachment.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. It makes you realize that you are, as soon as someone says there's a set of rules for you to follow to get there, it's like saying, I'm going to give you my free will to follow rules. I'd rather get there through my free will.
Exactly.
Because it's the only thing that's truthful. Hey, these dogs are going nuts. All right, we are like way over.
Yeah, okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we need to make another appointment.
Yes.